What's going on, guys? Welcome to the next episode of the Foley and James podcast. And this week we are going to be talking about acting. This is something a little different from the episodes we've had before, but it's something that's been a very big part of Foley's life in particular. And so we thought we'd talk a little bit about that. Hopefully this makes for interesting listening. We certainly enjoyed making it. And let's get started with episode 12. Don't take this the wrong way, mate, but when I first looked at you, the word actor didn't jump out at me. You know, you're a big rugby playing, drinking dude, and that didn't necessarily scream actor. So what got you into it in the first place?
First of all, I'm not apologised. I'm not apologised. I'm not offended. No, I'm not offended at all. I think that's it's almost a compliment. You can't tell I'm an actor, but I am. You know, surely I'm a very good one then. That's my.
You can look at it that way, I suppose.
Yeah, weird logic of building myself up. I grew up, you know, my dad was on stage before I was born. My mum was on stage quite a lot, you know, before I was born, and kept it going and stuff. So I'd have grown up around our local theatre group, and you know, Mum was always kind of taking me to see plays and stuff. Our schools, any of them that I was in, there was always productions going on, and like part of the curriculum was always to read plays and stuff like that, along with books and movies, obviously. And I'd happily watch movies and TV shows that I hadn't seen before, kind of random stuff. And yeah, I started getting involved in, when I was really young, I guess 7 or 8, selling raffle tickets at half time in the shows, you know. It'd be just like, well, you get in for free and you can have the front seats right in the middle, but at the half time you got to go sell raffle tickets. It's like, that seems a fair deal. And yeah, that started growing. And then in transition year, which everyone in Ireland will know what that is, but who's not in Ireland, it's a year between doing what we do as the junior cert, which would be the English GCSEs. I don't really think they have one in North America like that.
So that's about age 16 anyway.
Yeah, about that. State mandated exams, and then after that in Ireland you got a choice. You could do transition year or not, or you go straight into the final, you know, A-level equivalent or SATs or the IB exams, final state mandated curriculum for a couple of years. So I decided to transition year. All my mates were doing it, and it's like, yeah, sure, why not? And we're an all boys school, and part of the year was we put on a production with the all girls school who were just down the road. We also did other things with them, but we won't go into that.
I was going to say, now it's starting to make sense why you've gone into acting.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward to meet girls. And but of course, you know, we'd have the musical auditions, and there was no way in hell I was making a first impression on some of these girls by singing in my, you know, mid-puberty or, you know, near the end of whatever, in my terrible singing voice. That was not going to be my first impression. I had no confidence then either. But what I did offer to do was do the lights. So I did the lights for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. We had a blast doing it. You know, I helped build the set a little bit as well, and that kind of thing. Ended up meeting my first girlfriend through that. She offered to straighten my hair because I had curly hair at the time, and yeah, that was literally, I think, the first thing she said to me, which is bizarre. But that was fun. I had to end up quitting a part-time job because of it. Which I didn't mind because I was kind of getting sick of it anyway. And that was my first real kind of, you know, backstage experience of a play. So it was. And that was 2000 and something.
Ah. So let's just wind back a second. So you mentioned that you essentially caught the bug from your parents being involved in that. Were they just involved in theatre work? When you say on stage, you mean, is it just theatre work, or did they do other stuff, like maybe, I don't know, for TV or something?
No, just on stage. And when I say amateur on stage, it's it's amateur dramatics. Like the motto of our group that I was involved in is theatre for the fun of it. But in no, other than the fact that we don't get paid, there's no real amateurism about it. You know, we're all really dedicated. Any of the sets that I've been involved on have been phenomenally built, you know, like incredibly realistic. Everyone rehearses and puts in everything that they can into rehearsal. So it's you'll hear amateur dramatics, and it'll be like, oh well, they're going to forget every second line, or they won't have any props, or the set will be terrible, But no, at home in Westport, it's not like that at all. I just have to remember there was one. I was in a youth club in town as well, and I think it must have been after the musical in transition year, but we put on a play as a youth club. We'd like everyone in the group had a different kind of skit in a sense to do. Had a few minutes to do. So one guy sang a song. I think another couple of guys played instruments, so they played a song, and then a few of us put on a very short play. I think it was only 6 or 7 minutes long, probably. And I played the old guy, the father of the family. I think the whole process was the daughter was getting sold off to someone or something like that, and everyone was trying to work out a deal of what she was worth, a few cattle and sheep and all of this. And I was just the old guy sitting in the corner reading the newspaper, and I had about 4 lines maybe at most. And I do remember I got so into reading the newspaper at one stage that I just stopped paying attention to what was going on stage. And it was someone's line, and nobody had a clue whose line it was. And of course, I'm here thinking like, "Oh shit, is it my line? What was the last thing said?" Because I don't even know that.
Yeah.
And I was reading an article about God knows what, but it was more interesting than what was going on stage. And eventually, someone else realized it was their line and said their line and whatever. But like again, I'd only 3 or 4 lines, but they were all like little one-liners, kind of funny. And I ended up winning an award for best comedic actor at the Nationals that year when we went. Yeah, that was just like random. I was shocked because I wasn't expecting to. I didn't know there was a category for that, obviously. And yeah,
I wouldn't have even known there was such an award show like that. Awards.
Yeah, same. But yeah, that was fun.
So where does if you say it's like high quality or high production, these even though it's amateur dramatics, where's the money coming from? Do you pay for that to be like a member of that, or?
Yeah, we pay. I think the last time I paid, it was maybe €10 a year for registration.
That's all.
And yeah, that's all. Like there'll be fundraisers throughout the year. We have a deal worked out with the local town hall where if we pay for it, it's very little because we're always using it. Obviously, and then just local charities will donate or local people donate to us or stuff like that. We'll have fundraising days. That kind of thing.
That's really interesting. I would never have known that was an option. Like you say, when you think of amateur dramatics, you think it's going to be low value. Not only just with the performances, they could be really good depending on the group of people you've got. But the fact that it sounds like you had good sets and everything, that surprises me. I wouldn't have thought that. That's quite cool. Was it a popular thing where you're from, or in Ireland in general? Like, is that a common thing for people to do when they're young?
Not as much when they're young, I guess. No, like, and in fairness, other than that youth group and doing the lights, I wasn't on stage again until 2013.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Like when I was 24 kind of thing. But no, not as much when you're young. There's a few productions. I did lights in between that for quite a few other productions. And one of them was the Christmas Carol, and we'd have had younger people in that just because they'd have been needed, but not like sometimes the young people aren't needed in a play, but in the Christmas Carol they obviously are because you have the little family and you have Tiny Tim and all of that.
Yeah.
So, but it's a strange one in the fact that it is quite popular and we normally get decent turnouts for the plays at home. We put one on there last year and brought it up to London. We were, sold out probably like 5 out of the 7 nights we did it, or something like that, or 6 out of the 9, something.
What made you move it to, or what made whoever decide to move it to London? Who thought that would be, it would sell out or it would do well?
Yeah. So our group has had a connection with other groups around the world. Like I remember in the late 90s, our group took a play. I think it was a play called The Country Boy. Took it over to Cleveland in Ohio and put it on there just because they knew people there and they'd be helped out, whatever, and given the theatre to use. And so they did that. They went over, and of course people had like a bit of a holiday of it.
Yeah, like absolutely.
And they went over to London a few times to St. Joseph's Social Club, right beside Wembley Stadium. And this was actually, they've done it a few times. I think the first time was about 20 years ago, just under maybe, or just over. And the show that we put on was going to be the last one because the social club was going to be, I don't know if the license ran up on it or something, or it was just going to be, demolished or turned into something else, but it wasn't going to be that social club anymore. So ours was actually the last one in it, and it was quite good. So I can say I've sold out an arena at Wembley.
Well, I was just going to say, how many people were they for a sellout? How many? What was that?
I'm not sure in Wembley because they had a couple of bars in there and they'd just take in seats from the bars and stuff, but there'd be over 150, over 160
right.
at least.
So it's
maybe,
a decent amount. It's a decent
amount. Yeah, in Westport I think the capacity was 220. So we had that 5 or 6 nights as well, which is nice.
That's really great. I mean, Westport's not a huge place, is it?
No, for 5,000 people probably.
That's brilliant. That's really, really good. Really good interest. If you had, 5 or 6 nights at 200 each, then it's 1,000 odd people. That's that's a huge percentage of the population.
Literally turning people away some nights. Just because they couldn't get in.
Wow.
Which is great, and it wasn't a huge cast or anything. I think we'd maybe 8 or 9 in the cast. So it wasn't a case of having a cast of 20 people and everyone brings 3 people. And that's half the audience. Yeah. It wasn't the case of that. And I that one, so did that one back in, did the transition year one, and then the one with the youth club. That was ages ago, and as I said, I was doing lights for a load of them in between, and then one came up in 2013. It was a rough year, because Jamie passed away that year, and towards the end of the year, I kind of started getting my shit together, and I'm just like, all right, well, I'm going to really have to start trying stuff that I've always wanted to do, and acting was one of them. So the director of this play, it was called Same Old Moon, written by Geraldine Aron, or Aaron, just Aron, Aaron, whatever. And so Same Old Moon, it was about the life of an aspiring writer called Brenda Barnes that follows her from age 9 to 40. I didn't play Brenda Barnes. And see through her eyes the eccentric and sometimes fiery Irish family. I'm reading this straight off a screen. Her willful and self-destructive dad, her put-upon, sometimes hot-tempered mum, and many others. So yeah, in that was the end of 2013, and it was, as I said, it's had been a rough year, so 2013 was just like, fuck it, I'm going to give this a go. So what you'd do, normally you'd go in at a reading of a play, and they'd be over in Westport anyways, and then you might be, I won't say call back, but they'll be like, well, would you mind coming in and maybe reading for this part and this part and this part? And it's like, if one of those suits you, then unless there's anyone better in that role, that's yours kind of thing. So I went in, and this was one of my first ever readings with the group as well. And, even though I was 24 years old and had been involved when I was younger, first ever actual reading. And they're like, okay, so the first thing you got to do is put on a really fake Italian accent. Because I had to play a guy called Caruso, but Caruso was being played by an Irish guy, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I was an Irish guy. I was playing an Irish guy who was playing this Italian opera singer.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. So in the middle of the scene, my very first bit of that scene as well was singing operatically off stage.
And you can do that?
Yeah, well, there's a few people that are in the local town choir that is like, do you want to come out and sing in the town choir? It's like, no, thank you. And so that was fine. It was it wasn't actually opera songs, but it was to opera music, and it was like, I'm coming down the stairs now in my brand new underwear or something like that.
I mean, what I'm getting is the sort of image of the sort of Peter Griffin doing an Italian accent, from Family Guy.
It's not far off. It wasn't far off, because it was supposed to be quite cheesy,
Right.
And and even in the middle of it, I went in for this kiss with this girl, and
were you supposed to?
Yes. And my partner comes in, and I have to drop her, and in the panic, I switch back to an Irish accent, and that's supposed to happen.
Right.
It wasn't just me being a complete fuck up.
That's good.
So yeah.
So you can sing as well then. So you can sing, you can act. Can you dance?
So first of all, I do sing. I don't know if I can sing, but I do.
Right.
And So in this play again, I had a couple of parts in this play. So I had that Caruso guy. I had another guy, I think his name was Mark, who had to be a South African. So I had to put on a little bit of a South African accent, but obviously I couldn't go too heavy on the South African accent because, first of all, it's a tough accent to do, and second of all, I needed people to understand what I was saying anyway.
Yeah.
But in between me speaking in the bad Italian accent and in the bad South African accent, there was a few of us, I think it was 6 of us on stage at a time, and so try to give it like a bit of a synopsis of the scene. You're at a club in the 60s or in the early 70s, and it's essentially where the main girl of the play meets my character. And so to answer your question, yeah, we had to do, I think it was about a 2-minute dance called the Madison. So all 6 of us had to do this dance, and it was similar to line dancing. Like there was 3 at the front, 3 at the back, and you had to get the moves all down perfectly. So
I thought you didn't dance, mate. I remember you telling me that very clearly once, that you do not dance.
Yeah, I don't, in fairness. My character Mark did, but I don't.
That's the way you look at it. That's great. And so it was really off the back of building yourself up after obviously that tragedy back in 2013 that sort of spurred you into getting back into acting. That's really cool.
Completely, you know, it was the kind of case, took me a few months, but I was like, well, hey, that could be me. And I don't want to go regretting something that I haven't done. I'd rather regret something that I have done.
Yeah, fair enough. So now you're not in Ireland anymore. You're in Canada, and you're still doing it.
Yeah. There's a couple more. I'll come back to them briefly that I did in Ireland.
Okay.
But so I came over here obviously at the August 31st. I say obviously, you know, because people. What do you mean you don't know my life? So I came over August 31st, and I was looking. I knew there was a local theatre group, and I was looking at getting into it. But I think they do a play or 2 a year, and then a musical or 2 a year. And there's auditions for a musical coming up, and it's called The Music Man. And I looked online about The Music Man, and I listened to some of the songs, and I'm just like, you know what, it's not for me.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of the story or the movie or the music or whatever. But then at our Christmas party for where I'm currently working, one of the staff members is one of the board members of the theatre company. She comes up to me and goes, hey, you've been on stage, right? Because I've probably talked to her about it before. And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, okay, well, someone's after dropping out of our play, and they're only about a month to 6 weeks into rehearsals. Would you like to jump in? And I'm like, so I get to be on stage and I don't have to do any auditions. She's like, yeah, I'm in. So the play was, I can never remember the name of it. It's terrible. But it was An Evening of Culture 2, the saga, Faith County 2, An Evening of Culture, the saga continues. That's the full name of the play, written by Samuel French. And it's essentially this Midwestern, Arkansas theatre group are putting on Romeo and Juliet. So it becomes a play within a play. But the Arkansas theatre group, Mineola Council for Cultural Recognition or something, they're terrible. So we have to act badly. And I know before you even say anything, no, that's not as easy as it sounds. And no, that's not what I do anyway. So the first scene of the actual play is us getting ready to put on Romeo and Juliet, and then the rest of it is us putting on Romeo and Juliet, but it's terrible. So it was quite funny. It was fun to do. I had no lines within Romeo and Juliet, but I had a few as the handyman of the theatre group. So, and most of them were kind of, you know, it's just like, ugh, why always me? Or else they were funny facial expressions just to, you know, annoy people, which was good. So I had a lot of fun doing that. And as I said, yeah, bad Midwestern Arkansas accent was needed.
And so you just got into that theatre group just because you'd sort of mentioned it in passing to someone and they had the connection there.
Yeah, that was it, exactly. And, you know, some of the people that were, like the directors, everyone on stage, you know, with a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
That's great. Have you stuck with it with that group? Is there anything you're doing now?
They've nothing on the go at the minute. Other than they might be rehearsing the Music Man, but as I said, it's just not for me.
Right.
It'll be going on in the summer, and I don't know what the story is with my summer yet. So.
Yeah, no, very good, very good. So you said that you wanted to go back to speaking about a couple of plays you did back in Ireland. What were they?
Yeah, so briefly, that one, it's quite funny. So that one that we did last year, I think it was last year, 2 years ago. I think it was last year. The one that we brought to England, it was called Sive, written by John B. Cain, based in the 50s in Ireland, in like the western most parts of Ireland, and this girl was getting sold off. I seem to be in a lot of those. I say a lot too. But this girl was being sold off to someone, but I was the actual young love interest in it, and I won't spoil it, but it's a very sad ending. Although I say I won't spoil it, it was written back in the 60s, so if you don't know the story by now. And it was the first serious one we'd done in a while with that group, so it was nice to get the kind of recognition of doing a serious one, a dramatic one. You know, people in tears at the end of it, as opposed to just doing a comedic one, which they're fun as well, don't get me wrong, but this was a brand new challenge.
Yeah.
And there was one woman in that, and she's been in, I think she's been in every play, or she's been in quite a couple of plays that I've been in, and I've always sworn at her. Always, no matter like what the situation is, I'll turn around and call her an effing bitch or something.
Just in like the parking lot after the play or something.
In the script. Yeah. So there was one more that we did that I really want to talk about, is a short play, and it was for a fringe festival in a couple of towns over, and it was me and this woman, and I played a bit of a scumbag thief breaking into her house to steal some money from my drug addicted mother. But this old woman in the house had fallen over and hurt her hip. So like the whole part of the story is, I'm doing this, and all through this, it's only 12 to 15 minutes long, but I'm effing and blinding the whole time with another accent that I've had to do.
Right.
So effing and blinding, and at the end of it, I help her out a little bit, and I call an ambulance and stuff, and that one was a lot of fun, and we ended up again getting nominated for an award for that, which was quite nice. But it was actually some guy from our theatre group who won it, which is nice. Stayed within. And but with that, what we did as well. So there was us, that other group. There was one other one, I think, from our group, and then there was 3 from a couple of smaller but surrounding theatre groups around Westport. And what we did, we had 6 plays. We chose a night during the summer, and we put all 6 plays on in 3 different pubs around the centre of the town. We had them broadcast on a big screen outside. So in Westport, there's the Octagon, which is like a town square type of thing, and there's a few pubs around it. And we had it broadcast outside onto the big screen outside, which is quite cool.
That's really cool.
Height of tourist season and all of that kind of stuff. But I was on first. Our play was on first. It's called My Rings for a Cushion. I can't remember who, because I stole her rings, but I gave her a cushion. Fair trade. But we were on first, and it was 8 o'clock in the evening. And I didn't know until afterwards that it was actually getting broadcast outside. Luckily, I guess, for my part, in a way, they didn't quite have the camera set for, an indoor in a pub that they had no real stage lights for. But they had the sound blaring outside, and of course, for this 12 and 50 minutes, I'm saying, fuck, at least once every minute and a half to 2 minutes. At least.
Why do you say luckily the camera wasn't good? Why would that have been a big deal? I mean, obviously I see what you mean about not, wanting to say bad things out in public like that, but it's not, it's not the worst thing. It's just play.
I guess it was because it was 8 o'clock in the evening, a big tourist town. There's a lot of kids around and stuff. And the only reason I say luckily is because I would have known parents. I would have probably gotten a lot of complaints personally.
Oh, really?
The people in the truck got a lot of complaints about the swearing and stuff, but I'd say if people had known my face, then I would have as well. But that was a good night. That was a really fun night. That was.
So you've been doing a lot of, until now you've been doing it seeming, so amateur dramatics has been seemingly much as a hobby, on the side sort of thing. Have you got any aspirations that you might want to maybe take it another step further forward, maybe go to a higher level, or maybe transition, maybe start doing stuff in front of the camera? Like, what's your sort of future with acting as far as you're concerned?
Good thought. I guess it's kind of crossed my mind a couple of times. I'd love to. If in a year's time you're going to be acting with whatever, Mark Wahlberg, Ben Affleck, Robert Downey Jr., Jim Carrey, whatever. If that was the case in a year's time, yeah, that'd be phenomenal if I could ever get anywhere near that level. Don't get me wrong, I doubt I will. But part of it is I think it's because and I'm loving my job right now. It's in sport. I love sport anyway. And I'm not sure I'd be willing to take all the time off from sport just to go and do like casting calls, auditions, and stuff like that, where there's no guarantee that you're getting paid and stuff for doing anything. Whereas I could be working in sport for 3 weeks at a time, or however long. So at the minute, I don't think I will, because I know a friend of mine is an extra in Vikings and stuff like that. But there'd be days where he wouldn't earn any money, and he'd be standing around for 12 hours. So I right now I don't want to do that, but maybe in another 6 months' time or a year, who knows?
Right. So you're not ruling it out, but it's not a priority at the moment or anything.
No, it's not in the top kind of 5 things of what I want to do in the next year.
No, very good. So if say there's someone listening who thinks they would want to, they've always wanted to try acting, but they can't sing or dance, is that like a massive barrier in the way? Do you think? Do you think you need to have those 3 strings to your bow in order to get into on the amateur level?
No, I really don't. I actually consider myself lucky in a way where I was forced to do that in one of my very first productions. As opposed to waiting, all right, this one I'm going to be acting in 5 or 6 plays, and then it comes up. It's like, you're a great actor, but if you can't sing and dance, we can't give you this part. It's like, all right, well, I don't know, I've never tried. Where, yeah, I was lucky to do that in my first production, but I don't think it's necessarily a feather that needs to be in your cap at all. I think if you can sing and dance, great. And then I think there might be a little bit more opportunity with the likes of musicals and stuff. But at the same time, if you can act, or if you can just put yourself out there and be completely different, as you said at the start, you don't look at me and think I'm an actor. And but yeah, I'll just put myself out there and be whatever I have to be, kind of thing. And if you have the confidence and the ability to do that, then singing and dancing, if needed, you won't feel as bad as having to give it a go anyway. But I don't think it's a necessity to be able to do.
Very good. So if anyone listening wants to get involved, how do they do that? If they've got no connections to the acting world, how do they get involved with that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so before I came over here, I knew I was coming to a place called Windsor, and all I did was I went online and I went Windsor Theatre Group, or Windsor Theatre Groups, or Theatre Groups near Windsor, that kind of thing, and that's what I did. And then I sent an email saying, I've done this before, are you guys having any upcoming productions, blah, blah, blah. Someone got back to me within a week saying, have a look on our Facebook page for open auditions, you work here, this person works here, talk to this person about the group, and blah, blah, blah. Just put yourself out there in that way, you know what I mean? Don't expect it to fall in your lap.
And do you find that the acting kind of circle, once you're in it, people are supportive, or is there a lot of competition, or what is it?
No, I think, yeah, without a doubt. The groups that I've been involved in anyway, none of us are, well, as far as I know, none of us are really looking for that next Broadway step or anything like that.
Right,
so
yeah.
There's no real, I'm going to outshine you in this because I know I'm better than you. There's none of that really. And if there is, I haven't noticed any.
Well, that's always good. That's a good thing, at least. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm sure as soon as we wrap it up, I'm sure there will be. But no, right now, no. And there you have it, guys. That was just me talking about my acting career. I don't know, for about half an hour or so. Hope you enjoyed it. It's something that I've wanted to just kind of get out there. People are always wondering when I say so. It's like when I say I do act, like James he was like, huh? So it's something I wanted to get out there, which is quite good. A bit of a tease for you guys. This is a bit of a tease that we're going to have a little 5 or 10 minute podcast coming up soon enough, just about the possibility of us changing the name in our podcast. At the minute, it's the Foley and James podcast on YouTube, but we're looking to move in, get it onto a podcast format, on iTunes, Stitcher, Acast, all of that. So we will be changing the name a little bit, but there'll be a 5 to 10 minute podcast about that, and then we'll have our website set up, and we have our email address set up, which is nice, which we might change, but for right now, it's hammocks-are-life@gmail.com, because hammocks are life. They're awesome. But yeah, as I said, you can find myself and James on the YouTube channel. It's the Foley and James podcast. Check it out, subscribe, like, share, tell your friends, tell strangers. That's more fun. Go up to them in the street. Hey, check this out. That's pretty much what Facebook and Twitter is anyways, isn't it? Without physically being on the street. But we are both on Facebook and Twitter. James and I find us on Facebook. On Twitter, James is @tweetbelsey. I'm @OCRCove. OCRCove is also my Instagram handle. And I'm on Snapchat @CrazyAxel. So check us out, guys, on all of those social media stuff. Do your thing. Subscribe, listen, like, love, share, retweet, repost. I'm trying to think what other social media stuff is. But we'd really appreciate that, guys. Really would. And comment, tell us what you think, tell us what's good, tell us what's bad. We're looking to grow. And if anyone out there is a budding artist or budding musician, email us or contact us on social media, and we might have a nice opportunity for you guys. Yeah. So unless James has anything he wants to add to that?
Nope.
Excellent. All right. We'll catch you next time, guys. Bye-bye.